Hey, welcome to RiverCity-Media. We have a special treat tonight. Last week we had a new head coach, first time ever job. Today we have a new head coach with a ton of experience, but at a new school. So we're going to get a different look at it. And tonight, welcome aboard Coach Chad Barger of the Eastridge Pioneers. Coach, welcome and congratulations on the new job.
Well, thank you, Randall. We're excited over at the Ridge. Like I said, we've got a wealth of experience. We've hired several guys who are East Ridge people, and we got guys on staff now ready to go. So hopefully we get this thing rolling and turned around.
Coach, that's the first question that I wrote down in my. I'm getting feedback right now, but I'm clear now. The first question I had wrote down was, you accepted this job from Tim James, a great guy, someone that I've been around a lot, absolutely will do marvelous things with Hamilton County's athletic program. His dad's name's on the stadium. Mm-hmm. So you inherited a program with a lot of history. How do you embrace that, but you also bring a little bit of Chad into it?
Well, the big thing is you can't replace Tim. Tim is East Ridge, and that's what I said even when I got hired. I'm like, I just hope to do, half the job that man has done to make that program what it is and to keep people, make people proud to be an East Ridge Pioneer. So first and foremost, the James family and Tim in particular bringing me in. Tim and I have been friends for, Lord, I guess 20 plus years or so. But just knowing what we're going into, you can't really replace Tim. But the good news is he's moved on to a fantastic opportunity. And, I think that's a fantastic opportunity for Hamilton County. But as far as what we're doing, Tim gave me a lot of leeway in the offense. Obviously, I was the offensive coordinator for the past 3 seasons. He really didn't meddle. He didn't do much. He, as far as saying, Coach, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, this is what we're going to do, he kind of let me run with it. And, and I was really good at helping him organize practices, getting things in and out, trying to be crisp. So as far as on the field stuff, there's not going to be a ton of changes. Off the field stuff, we've got some younger guys on staff that we brought in, maybe bring a little bit of life and excitement into it. Like I told Tim, I said, we were a staff of older coaches in the last couple of years. We were, he and I and Coach Upshaw and Coach Goddard. Honestly, I was the youngest one of them, and I'm 45 years old. So, that we were kind of experienced older guys, and now we've hired 3 young assistants who played at East Ridge. Awesome. Two of the three had gone on to play in college. We hired DeAndre Chambliss, who just graduated from Emory and Henry, played defensive end at Emory and Henry. We're hiring Alonzo Russell. He played at the University of the Cumberland as a wide receiver. And we hired Eric Hubbard, who ended up a stint in the military and has come back to coach. But he played, at East Ridge, and all 3 were outstanding players, and they're all 3 great young men. And, and that's kind of what we want our kids to see. Look at what East Ridge High School's produced. Look at these, these young men, these fine young men that East Ridge High School has produced, and having that positive, that positive image and that positive role model there on staff as well. And then, I think that's really going to get these guys involved. I think it might even get more kids interested because they remember when they were in elementary school and places, they remember these guys on the field playing. And, a lot of them played when they ran, they ended up 13-1 one year and end up in the semi or quarterfinals, one year. Those guys are playing in those teams. And I think that was that's going to be a huge factor for us moving forward to get kids to come out and join the team.
Is Coach Goddard and Upshaw staying, or
Upshaw has taken a hiatus? He told Coach James, actually, even before anything had happened, this was his last year. This past season was his last one, Coach, and he said he's tired, as he said. But Coach Goddard is back. Yes, I don't know what I'd do without Coach Goddard's organizational skills. That guy does a phenomenal job for us, and I'd be hard pressed not to make sure he stayed. Yeah, I tried to get Coach Upshaw to stay, but he's dead set on take, because he also the girls' head basketball coach.
Yes,
and Reggie's like, just going from football to basketball to that. He said, I just don't have any time. and he likes to watch his son play. His oldest son still playing overseas, so he likes to watch him play and things like that. So, it gives him more time.
And I think Coach Goddard's the head boys basketball coach.
He was. Now, he stepped that back. He's actually helping Reggie and the girls. And, I think if we end up, we haven't, we've talked about doing track, and, I was the assistant track coach. I've been the head track coach at 2 other schools, and, and Tim was the head track coach at East Ridge. I've kind of talked to our principal about it, maybe just bump that up and let me be the head track coach too, but we'll just have to see about that one. And Goddard would help me with track as well, because he's done that before.
I've known Coach Goddard going back to UTC. Matter of fact, LaFay Wilkerson, or now LaFay Goddard.
Yes.
She and I went to kindergarten together, and every school. So Coach Goddard's good people. His wife's good people, good family. So that's great to have that as an ally there.
Absolutely.
For you.
Yeah, we love LaFay too, man. She's just great.
We went to kindergarten. We went to kindergarten, elementary, junior high school, and college together. Wow. I can't tell you how much I think of her.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Is really
lady.
Without digging too far into details, last year was by East Ridge standards not a good year.
Right.
Numbers were down a bit. You got to start rebuilding. We talked about defining success this year. What is Coach Chad Barger going to define as success this year?
Well, I mean, our definition of success is going to be, what kind of people are we? Number one, am I doing the right things in the classroom? Am I doing the right things on and off the field? Am I growing up and being a fine young man? And that's everywhere we ever go. We don't want to, coaches love talking about wins, losses, everything else, but our job is much more than that. We've got to teach these young men how to be young men. And, especially in this ever-changing climate, in this ever-changing world, we need upstanding, strong young men to be able to carry forth and become great citizens. And, and what we can do with those guys, I'll just be honest with you. I have a great group of kids. These young men at East Ridge, I just tell you, there's nothing I can't say about them, because they've responded so far. They do what they're asked to do. They work hard. They're very respectful. Now I'm telling you, I treat them like my own. And I've always told every team I ever coach, I'm going to treat you guys like my own. And, sometimes that comes with tough love, but, at the end of the day, as long as these guys understand that we're there to become better human beings and better people, and football comes with that. The better you become, the more of a fine young man you become. You become more coachable. You become teachable, and that's the thing that's lost in our society. People aren't teachable. We don't take teachable moments, and everybody forms their own opinion, and that's kind of how it goes, and everybody else is wrong. So, being able to open up our minds to what's out there, and to be able to understand that, there's more than one way to do things. So that, those guys have really responded. Our kids work really hard in the weight room. They work hard on the field. They ask questions. They're great. They're a great group of young men. So, definition of success to me is watching our young men become successful in life. Success on the field, obviously, is getting better every week, playing with better technique, playing with more discipline, being very physical. That's something we've been preaching to them since day one, that we found this out. We're like, we are going to be a physical football team. I think that was something that we kind of lost last year, is we weren't very physical. There were a lot of times where teams kind of pushed us around a little bit. So, that's our big push now, is to be a more physical, disciplined football team. And that's kind of what we're looking for in our success.
Coach, we came over 2 years ago, and as most people know, here on River City and on Marion Messenger, I do this Quatcha County games. We came over, and behind the scenes, your brother Jeff is my color guy on our broadcast, and I'd never been to East Ridge, or been years since I've been to East Ridge. Coach James welcomed me, and of course yourself. Your kids did impress me that night. I heard more yes sirs, no sirs, just a great group of kids. And I think that is something that me as a Hamilton County resident, we've lost focus on, those kids that are just, there's some absolutely great kids at East Ridge and Brainerd and East Hamilton, all over the county. And even at Hickson, who struggles with athletics, we need to embrace these kids. A lot of good kids in this county.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every place I've ever been, every school I've ever been, I mean, you always say, well, I can't believe you went there, or how was it there? 95% of kids in every school are fantastic kids.
Yeah.
And some of them are a little misguided. That 5%, they're not bad kids. Sometimes they're misguided. Maybe they may get in trouble, but you kind of have to find out what causes that. Many times it's just somebody, these kids are screaming for attention.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for, acceptance, and we've got to find that way. But, teaching and coaching at East Ridge has been no different than any other place I've ever been. And I enjoy being where I'm at. I feel like we've got a good group of leadership in our new admin. Mr. Juan Moreno is our principal. Last year was his first year. Big transition for everybody. But Mr. Moreno has done a bang up job. He's getting things ready to go. And, and it was a crazy year for everyone in the county, because as we explained it, said, think about it. It's been 16 months for some of those kids.
Yeah.
Since they had ever been in a structured setting. They chose to, a lot of kids last year, the year before chose to go virtual.
Yes.
And, it's been 16 months since they've been in a classroom setting. So, that's tough, and being able to be structured again and things like that. But, it was an interesting year, but we handled it, and, we always roll with the punches. That's education. I mean, it's you never know what you're going to get. Right? It's like kind of like Forrest Gump says with a box of chocolates, because you never know what you're going to get, because each day brings something new, and it's always something new. And like we said at the end, when we retire, we're going to write a book, because there's things in those education classes and all these things, especially when you're coaching, that you never would expect to ever see. And some of it's funny, some of it will just absolutely rip your heart out. But, all in all, man, it's like I said, we could write a bestseller, once all this stuff's over with. Of course, we'd withhold all names, I guess.
Yeah, that word, yes, sir, to me means a lot when you're a young man respecting someone. So your team, I left there and I told Jeff, I said, I've not heard this many yes, sirs since I was maybe at a military base or something. But that's a big compliment to the kids. But let's get on field just a little bit. Well,
all right.
About it, 20. We're coming out of COVID. We're fighting through things. You had a pretty nice class 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year you were short leadership in the senior class. Struggled. 2 years ago, your program was, I'm telling you, they were on point.
Yep.
A football program. And we came over there and jumped out to a big lead, or Squatch County did.
Yep.
And you talk about mental toughness, fought back.
They did, especially with that game, man. I mean, at halftime, we rolled in there, and I just looked at them. I was like, number one, we're not playing East Ridge football. I was like, these guys are Valley kids, and they want to pride themselves on Valley ball. So basically, I just challenged our guys at halftime. I'm like, let's out-Valley the Valley kids.
Absolutely.
And he came out and absolutely punched them in the mouth in the second half, and they had no answer. So our kids woke up. They went through the motions in the first half and kind of got surprised a little bit. We tried to get cute early, and it kind of bit us. But, we decided just to line up and play smash mouth second half, and it really worked for us.
How many position battles do you think you go into the fall with? Is everything open? You set
well, everything's always open. I've got some kids that are really battling. We've got some positions, especially up front, where we struggled last year was basically up front. So offensive and defensive lines, we've got some kids battling hard. Quarterback, we had a kid I thought we solidified in the spring, but then had another kid come on as well. So, we got two underclassmen battling out kind of at quarterback right now. So, we've got a lot of open positions, and I enjoy having open positions because the more competition you have, the better it'll make you, really. So if you have kids battling every day, not already comfortable in that position, you know, it seems like they work a little harder.
Coach, that's an excellent point. That's something we've talked about with several coaches. We always hear as fans like me, competition makes you better in practice, but it truly does.
Mm-hmm.
If your second team guy is pushing your first team guy, he's going to get better. If your second team guy is threatening the first team guy, he's going to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to build competition in practice even?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, we've got to find ways to get – you always, you know, as coaches, you say you always want your good on goods in practice to really find out, you know, where you are. My best year at Sequatchie County, you know, I mean, we went through a quarterback change. I think it was week 3. We had a new quarterback change in, and then we went on I guess it was about a 6 or 7 game roll there towards the end, you know, before we were eliminated by Good Pasture in the second round of the playoffs. But we were rolling pretty good with the kid we had, you know, and we brought in a quarterback who's now the he's offensive coordinator at Cumberland County, you know, Sean Cooley. Yeah, he's up there coaching now, but we brought him in at quarterback. He was our wide receiver in DB, and, you know, and I'm like, maybe we can get him at Q and see what happens. And actually had one of my assistant coaches, and he goes, how about Cooley at quarterback coach? And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, it was as little as we'd been throwing. I'm like, might as well. And we come rolling there. We actually ended up being able to throw the ball a little better. You know, and he was pretty cool under pressure, and we ended up, you know, going on a pretty big roll. So you know, that can happen. I mean, these guys step up. You have guys that step up out of nowhere. And, you know, another great story we like to tell is a kid that played defensive end for me at Sequatchie County as a freshman and sophomore. You know, he's one of those kids that you don't know as a coach. And like, he may or may not ever see the field. You know, he was struggling at times, came on at the end of his junior year, started getting a little playing time, little special teams. And dadgum, if he didn't play defensive end, one of the best that I've ever coached as a senior. That kid really developed, and he's in the military now. But you know, Joey was a terror his senior year. I mean, this kid really developed between his junior and senior year, and just looked like a different player. So, you know, you're always getting surprised with those kids with a year in the weight room and a year older as they mature. So, you know, we see it, and then the weight room does wonders too. These kids, we've got a core group that's really been working, and several have absolutely just changed their physical appearance, and it's been impressive to watch.
Huge. Before you were at Sequatchie, because everybody knows you from the Valley, you played in Bledsoe. You were out in Tennessee for a while, so this is not your first catch. I believe it was Lake County.
No, I was at Cannon. David was at Lake, yeah. But I was at Cannon was my first head coaching job. It was a crazy time too, because I had actually, like, when Coach Mackersy's the guy that hired me at Sequatchie, fresh out of college. Couple years later, they let him go, and you know, I'm 25, I think at the time. I'm like, heck, I'll apply for the job. You know, they're like, hey, you're a little bit young, okay. So they hire in Kevin Saunders. I worked with Kevin for a year. I was Kevin's defensive coordinator. Kevin and I got along great, and he was like, man, he said, you're gonna be a head coach soon. All right. Then this job opened up in Cannon County in Woodbury, and I'm like, I don't know anything about them other than when I was in high school, we played them. They were in our district, you know, and they were average. I mean, they were a 5-5 team, and so I applied, and we start kind of looking around, and I'm like, man, this place has really gone down, and they had not been very good. End up getting offered the job, and I'm like, well, you know, first head coaching job, let's go for it. And ended up going over there, and you know, was there for 3 years before I came back to Sequatchie. You know, we had some success when I'd taken over a team that had won 4 games in 5 years, and we went 4-6 that first year. Ended up, you know, 2 years later, we have the first winning season since I think it was 1980 something, and like 89 or something like that. And we beat our rival for the first time since 1968. They beat DeKalb County finally. So we had some success there, and then I came into Sequatchie at the right time because they had gone. Kevin had left after the year after I left, he stayed one more year. Then they hired a young guy who's actually come back to Sequatchie as an assistant. But Coach Armstrong was there for 2 years. They struggled. He actually resigned. Of course, they didn't let him go. He resigned. Then my wife's grandmother got sick, and she was not doing well, and we had that decision to make, and we came back and stayed with her until she passed. So that was one of those things. When we came back, we took over a program that was 1-19. First year we went 6-5. Kind of shocked some people. We came out of the gates on fire, won our first 5 games, but they didn't tell us the second half of the season you were going to play Tyner, Marion when they went to the semifinals, Tyner, Marion, Boy Buchanan, Midway, when Midway went 10-3, they went to the quarterfinals. Nobody told us that we were going to have those 4 of those last 5 games were going to be those guys. So, we struggled a little bit towards the end and ended up going to Smith County for the first round of the playoffs. But we had 4 straight winning seasons before my last year at Sequatchie. So we went on a decent little roll.
I tell people Cannon was, when you took Cannon, and I've said it publicly before, it was about the bottom of high school football. So I make the comparison. It was like winning at Vandy.
Yes, sir. It absolutely was. I mean, it was a struggle. It was crazy. I had never seen the depths that it had gone, and we were dressing in the gym, and they ended up getting a field house and stuff by the time I was done there. So that was they made some major upgrades. And now with the new coach, which is Coach Matt Daniel, Matt was my assistant coach. He was my offensive line coach. And then eventually I named him offensive coordinator. But he was one of my assistants, and Matt does a fantastic job there.
Does. Great guy too. I interviewed him.
Oh, he's super guy. Yes, sir.
Cannon County treats us, because they're in our district, like kings. I appreciate them over at Cannon. Speaking of districts, Coach, TSSAA didn't do you any favor when they did redistrict you last time.
No. I'm telling you, all these bigger schools dropped down to 4A. I mean, well, of course, then Red Bank jumped up, but you got Red Bank, you got East Hamilton, you've got Soddy Daisy now, 4A school. I don't know if they're hiding kids and numbers and things like that, but who knows? But there's some good football coaches in this district too. I mean, Red Bank just hired Coach Gatewood. Gatewood's fantastic football coach. Carter Cardwell at Soddy Daisy, super class gentleman, super football coach. You look at East Hamilton with Grant Reynolds. Grant does a great job at East Ham. I mean, we are heavy in really, really good football coaches as well in this district. So, I guess that's why we're the 5th toughest schedule in 4A, probably because of this schedule. Then we didn't do ourselves any favors in the non-district games with guys like Silverdale and Cleveland. So, we've got our hands full.
Coach, we talked before we come on the air, and I think it's already I think it's interesting because you are ingrained in the Valley. You are as Valley gets. And we used to play East Ridge, and I think that it helped both programs. I think it helped the Valley schools see an athlete at a different level, or athleticism at a different level, and maybe our kids came over and was a toughness. Is that something you'd like to bring back with your history in the Valley?
Oh, man, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to be able to play guys in the Valley and play some of those teams in the Valley as well. I mean, we're actually scrimmaging Marion County on the 29th. That's our first scrimmage. We're going over there to visit Coach Starkey. Tim and I are good friends, and we're gonna head over there. But absolutely. I mean, the distance isn't bad. I mean, the travel's not bad for anybody in the Valley to go, across the mountain. Well, with Sequoia High School up in Madisonville in our district too. I mean, I'd much rather drive to Dunlap or Marion or South Pittsburgh or someplace like that than to have to hop on the bus and drive all the way up to Madisonville. So
that's a long
drive. Almost as bad as 2 years ago going to Elizabethton.
Yeah.
That was a trip and a half now.
Yeah, we interviewed Coach Starkey, great guy. Coach Starkey is one of my favorites too. Coach, let's get off the field for a second. Now, I have a daughter in Hamilton County Schools, as we talked about, and we do the band.
Right.
She's not loves music, and we're always looking for funding, and it's the same for you guys on the football end. You got to do a lot of fundraising. People don't think about to pay for those buses or those cool uniforms and the thing that gets the kids' attention. And let's face it, the reason I do what I do with the radio, the reason you coach is for the kids. This is important for them, and you want them to have a first-class experience too.
Absolutely. I mean, we're very fortunate to have had some donors, really come through in the last couple of years at East Ridge to get us the facility that we now have.
Beautiful.
Tell you, that new field house and weight room and everything that we moved into in April is phenomenal. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's any public school in Hamilton County that has that type of field house with the weight room and locker rooms that we have. It's just, it's phenomenal. We can't thank those guys enough. Then you look into funding, right? Transportation is going to go up.
Yeah.
We're going to hold, I think we're going to try to do, the 30 days of Pioneer football with the calendars and things like that. But our booster club obviously does the ad sales for the fences and things. So if there's any businesses around that, want to advertise, there'll be ad sales in East Ridge, obviously, and things of that nature. We always look for people to sponsor meals for our pregame meals for our kids. People don't think about things like that. I mean, it's when you're feeding 50 hungry teenagers, I mean, it isn't cheap. A lot of people will pitch in, even at some places we like, well, Coach, we'll do this for $7 a head. Okay. $7 a head at 50 kids. Now we're talking a little bit of money every week. So, you're looking at $350+ plus, you got to feed your coaches and usually the bus driver and whoever else is with us. So, but that stuff gets expensive. Travel is expensive. And we have 6 away games this year because we're doing it like a double trip to Cleveland. We worked out a contract there with them where we're going to play at Cleveland 2 years in a row. So, go up and play on the turf. So, but we have 4 home games this year. So when you always take away one home game, that's, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 less than you would make the year before. So, that gets kind of tough. So, and we're looking, probably going into that sponsorship for the calendars and things of that nature.
Coach, anything you get going, let us know, and we'll advertise it, of course. Also, what if you're sitting at home right now and you're a supporter of the East Ridge Pioneers program, buying a ticket and filling those stands up is something that you can do fairly cheap. 4 games, $10 a game, $40. It means a lot to the kids, Coach.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that because, like, we had a 7-on-7, on the 23rd of June, right before the exiting of the dead period. We had 3 other teams. Bledsoe was involved. We had Bledsoe, Walker Valley, and Tryon, Georgia all come to our place for a kind of a little passing day. It's funny because summer school's going on. Some of the teachers there, the kids have a couple of their favorites. So they were hitting up, like Miss Netterville, one of the math teachers that really has been tutoring a lot of our kids and working hard with them. And they're like, "You going to be there, right, Miss Netterville?" And she's like, "Guys, I'm in summer school." But, we had teachers and things show up and kind of watch. And, those kids see it. And we don't understand as a teacher and a coach, you understand that because they know, kids that I have in class that play other sports, they know if you're there or not. They may be trouble in the classroom sometimes, but if you don't go to one of their games, that Monday rolls around, they're going to be like, "Coach, you weren't at the game last night, or you wasn't at the game the other night." And, they know those kids, and it means something to them to have people there to support them. And that crowd, when the crowd gets in, there's nothing like a Friday night game when that crowd gets into it, and that crowd's big. So, fill those seats. That's fantastic. The Valley is like we said. When I was at Sequatchie, we actually went to Bledsoe. I guess it was my 3rd year at Sequatchie. We had to travel as that weird where they had that wild card stuff. We were I guess a 7-3 football team and had to go on the road to Bledsoe County to play the first round playoff game. And that first round playoff game was the 3rd highest grossing playoff game in the state of Tennessee for that day, regardless of classification.
Yeah.
And that's a 3A school versus a 3A school at the time. And it was, I can't remember, the gate was $19,000. It was crazy. It was the third highest grossing playoff game for a first round game in the state that week. That tells you the valley and how much that means to people. And those type games are phenomenal.
They are. I've been privileged to call a lot of them now, and it's one of my favorite rivalries of all time. Coach, I'm gonna go back in time a little bit. This is a question that I got about 3 desks over today at Man Hummel. He asked me to bring up. He said that you were a pretty good running back at Bledsoe County, but the way you got taught to be a pretty good running back was him and your other brother David would get in the hallway and pitch you to football, and you had to get past them in the hallway to score a touchdown.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that hallway, you got to understand, that hallway is 3 foot wide, maybe 4 foot wide. Yeah. And then Jeff at the time, of course, my brother, he's not a little fella. He's got those big broad shoulders. So, he's had to tuck and go. It's one cut, as we used to say. It's just a one cut run. But yeah, absolutely. We used to get in a lot of trouble playing sports in the house, playing tackle football in the hallway. We used to play wrestling like in the bedrooms. Mom used to have this big chest of drawers when we were little kids. Me and Dave would climb up there and, we'd do those off the top rope moves off from the top of the chest of drawers onto the bed. So those type things. So, we used to get in trouble a lot for playing in the house like that. But that's absolutely 100% true.
He said y'all broke a lot of paneling in that hallway.
We did. Yes, sir.
Chad, before we get Coach Barger, before we get off here, let's talk about your dad for just a second. Mm-hmm. Your dad, absolute legend on the softball field.
Oh my, yes.
And y'all grew up playing with him. Do you think where you become a coach was just going around with your dad playing softball a little bit?
Well, that and just the competitive nature. That was one of those things that we as a family are super competitive.
Oh yeah.
It's always, we're going to one up each other no matter what, being, the brothers there, we are super, super competitive. We're going to win at checkers. We're going to win at whatever we're going to try to play. We're going to try to do the best we can to beat each other. But at the end of the day, my brother's my best friend. So, we know if something happens, they're always a phone call away.
Yeah, well, your brother's a friend of mine, the beyond friend, and me and him travel a lot of roads together. He won't ride with me anymore, Chad.
Oh, why not?
He said that I think that white lane is like one of those kids' rides. You're supposed to straddle it.
Oh, I got you. Well, tell him at least you're not straddling the yellow line on the other side, right?
Yeah. Well, he's retired me from driving when we go on road trips.
Got you.
He said it's just safer to ride than it is to ride with me. So
yeah,
drives and I ride. Coach, before we get off here, what else can we do? Is there anything you want to bring up or anybody you would like to thank? Also, I think we ought to definitely give a shout out to Coach James.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite people in the whole world.
You ain't kidding. It's funny because we still talk pretty much on a daily basis. I'll text him and just something funny. Something funny that happens. I'm calling him. Hey man, you'll never guess what happened today. And he'll call me. He'll go, "What have you done in the field yet?" Just messing with me. But he like I said, he's a great dude. I can't thank him enough for bringing me over to East Ridge with him. We've had a lot of good times, and it's gonna be different without him there. But I ain't gonna say if he will or he won't, but I could probably see him sneak into a few ball games, and watching. And I told him, I said, you got an open invitation anytime you want to sit in the booth. I said, we'll just reverse roles there because I've been in the booth for 3 years. So he can sit up there anytime. But, definitely thanking Coach James and Mr. Moreno, Juan Moreno, our principal, to have faith in me and to let, put me in charge of this program. But, hopefully we can build something that the community of East Ridge can be proud of.
Jed, I'd love to get you back on during the season sometime. Maybe we can talk it out, work it out, maybe in a bye week, maybe before a big game. But again, we support you. We're thankful to have Coach Barger at East Ridge as a member of this community. It gives me one more rooting interest. And, I may head to Dunlap every Friday night, but the first thing I'm doing, every commercial break, I'm like, East Ridge is up 7. Saudi Day is up 12. We Hamilton County folk care more than we let on sometimes about our high school sports. So
absolutely,
you're at a good spot, and I expect when we do this interview a year from now or 2 years from now, you will be excited and telling me, hey, we can compete or we can do this. So I'm excited to have you there, and I appreciate your time. And again, we start that Marion County scrimmage is when? Because I'm coming to that one.
July 29th. That's our first scrimmage, and I believe we've kind of worked it out to where it's going to be maybe 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern. Yeah, we're trying to have it early enough where we can get some good work in, but not too early where we're going to have to wait for the heat. So, hopefully it'll be kind of cool that day. But I'm going to say no, it won't be. But that's going to be the thing. And right now, I don't know if it's going to be a 3-way scrimmage or not. It kind of was set up as that to begin with. I think Howard may be joining us too, but I don't know if they've got something different going on or not. But when it all solidifies, Coach Starkey will put all the information out there for sure. But we're just happy to go wherever we can get some competition and play. I almost want our kids to see good quality football, and Marion County is going to be a good football team. So I want our guys to see good quality, physical, hard-nosed opponents that get after you, and and that's the only way to get better.
Well, it's not a miss on me that I wanted to start this series with you and Coach Starkey, because I felt like those were two faces in familiar places that have an opportunity to succeed. So, Chad, Coach Barger, it's hard for me to call you Coach Barger.
Oh, you do whatever. I've been called worse, Randall. I've been called worse. I promise.
And it makes it hard. Yeah. I'm gonna get your brother. Let me tell you now. We'll let you go. Your brother's a pretty good color guy, but he's got to stop screaming touchdown when I'm 40 yards away with the football. He gets a little excited on me.
He gonna score. He knows he's gonna score, right?
Yeah, he'll start scoring touchdown. Now I'll admit we're radio, so I'm behind the play.
Right.
He's killing me. Killing me. So for Coach Chad Barger of the East Ridge Pioneers, for Randall Cunningham, this is River City Media, and we've enjoyed your time, and come see us again.